Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to give everyone a few minutes just to make sure everyone's logged on, and then we'll get started in about 4 or 5 minutes or so, just make sure everyone's here. We do have the question box at the bottom where you can ask questions, and so you can use that as well. And if you want to type in there that if you can hear or if you can't hear, that would be super helpful, so I know that this is all working. Otherwise, we'll get started in just a few minutes. All right, it seems like everyone is logging in, so we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to be talking a bit about virtual activities for mentors and mentees today. So as we're all kind of thinking about e-mentoring and engaging with folks electronically, we want to make sure we have activities for them to do. And so we'll go through a few ideas and things to think about and all of that for you today. I'm going to turn it over mostly to my colleagues, Alicia and Andrew, to discuss a bit more. My name is Jack Kavanaugh. I'm our Director of Training and Program Development for Mentor New York. And I'll let Alicia and Andrew introduce themselves, but they've been doing a lot of really great research into different activities and different things to do with mentors and mentees virtually. And so I'll let them kind of share. I'll be monitoring that question box at the bottom. And so if you do have specific questions, feel free to ask them. Some we might save to the end, some we might answer as we go. But feel free to ask anything. And if it's a specific question just for you, I might just type an answer back as well. And so, yeah, it is also Alicia's last day with us today. So this is a good sending off party for her as her school year comes to a close. She gets to host the webinar on virtual activities. So we've been very appreciative of her over the last year, and so this is a nice little culmination of her work with us. So I'll turn it over to them. I'm going to mute myself. And great, thank you.
Hi, everyone. As Jack mentioned, my name is Alicia Ippolito. I am a Master's of Social Work intern at the program at the University of Buffalo. So I've been working with him in the office here in Western New York all year with Mentor New York. I'm excited to talk today to you guys about virtual activities that we can now do with mentors and mentees.
And hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Bishop. I'm an AmeriCorps Vista. I actually just started at the beginning of the COVID-19 stay-at-home orders. So I haven't been working in the office, but I will be working in the office with Jack Kavanaugh in Buffalo. Thank you all for coming. We have spent a couple weeks now looking for activities for you all to do during e-mentoring. So we're really happy with what we put together today. I want to just acknowledge Jessica, our other partner. She has helped us putting this stuff together. So she did some work on this too. I just wanted to shout her name out today. And then we're going to start with a quick poll, actually 2 polls. So our first question is, have you been trying virtual activities with your mentees already? So yes, we have, no, we haven't, or we want to, but we're having a hard time finding activities. All right, and the results, yes, we have, seems to be the largest amount of people with 59%. And then no, we haven't and we want to, but we're having a hard time finding activities, are about the same, around 20%. So that's good to know. So thank you for answering that question for us. And then our follow-up question is, what is your comfort level with virtual activities? So you've had no problems and it's really been easy for you to put these together. It takes some time to figure things out, or you find it extremely difficult. So it looks like a large majority takes some time to figure things out. And then second place over here is I've had no problems and it comes easy to me. And a couple of people find it extremely difficult. Yeah, so today what we're going to do is we're going to kind of share a little bit of the webpage that we found. So try to walk you through it a little bit. So hopefully that will make it a little bit easier if you do decide to use some of these activities for yourself. So here's our agenda. We've broken up the activities we found into 3 categories. So scholarly activities, so more educational, then fun, Well, I mean, hopefully they're going to be fun. But yeah, they're definitely going to have more educational aspect to them. Activities to pass the time. So less educational, but still some fun activities you can do with your mentee. And then virtual communication tools. We'll add some on there. We kind of discussed what we're going to do about that because there are a lot of platforms. And that's been a big question, like what platform do we use to reach out to our mentees? But we did decide, like, just due to time constraints, that we're not going to go through all of them. We're just going to show a couple that you might not have heard of and we think might be a little bit helpful for you. And also, I just want to say that, like, our thought process for the activities, we did want to look at things that were interactive for both the mentor and the mentee. So something that you both can do while on like a face-to-face video, usually with screen sharing. That's a lot of the activities that we chose do involve screen sharing. We did try to make sure that if the majority of them like don't need accounts, or if they do need accounts, we tried to make sure that it was only one-ended. So like the mentor would only need to create an account. We were trying to be mindful of not making the mentee add their own account to it. So we're going to start with scholarly activities. So I'm going to start off with Junior Achievement. So Junior Achievement is a nonprofit program that creates financial literacy and future preparedness programs for youth. So on their website, they have some online activities that can be used. They are kind of oriented mostly towards like in classroom, but if you do look around on their site, you can find some good activities you can do. Can't put this off. Some technical difficulties. Okay. All right. So the JA Build Your Future, I did look into already, and I found a couple activities on this page specifically. JA Access Your Future. This is a cool program. What you can do is you go on here. If you do screen sharing with a mentee, you guys can kind of walk through what career they're looking into. So I'll just click accountant, see career suggestions, and then see they have related careers in the accounting field that you can look through and further research, see what college experience or colleges you need to try to apply for, how much education you need. Like this one says master's degree. So this could be a cool project that you could do with your mentee and kind of just walk through what kind of job they might want to have in the future. And then there's also even more programs. There's a bunch on this page if you look through it, and then you can also go into JA programs, and they have lesson plan outlines. So this kind of is a little back end heavy. You might have to do some preparing for this before you do this activity with your mentees. But there's 3 different categories: elementary school level, middle school, and high school. And they just have like a lesson plan, business communications. So kind of going over some preliminary like communications information. So if they are interested in going into the business field, you can kind of go through this with them and teach them some things. But yeah, they have the overview and outline, and then there's even a video that you can watch to figure out how to do this lesson plan. All right, and then go here. All right, I'll throw it over to Alicia.
Okay. Another activity that we had kind of thought about in collaboration with our colleague Jessica, as Andrew had mentioned earlier, is the idea of like a lunch and learn. So we thought that it might be a good idea to use this time to kind of work on homework if the school is still in session, or even learn a new skill. That of course would be done in the comfort of one's home. And also to a time to kind of learn about passions, either of the mentor or of the mentees. So, you could kind of plan it ahead of time maybe, and say today, or the next day we meet, we're going to talk for about 30 minutes about a specific topic that I think is interesting to me and I think you might be interested in. So it would take a little bit of planning ahead of time, but it's also a time where you could potentially eat lunch together if that was something that you were comfortable doing over video chat. This next site is College Greenlight. Some people may be more familiar with this than others, but essentially it's a website platform where you can go in and work with a student to kind of help them find scholarship opportunities, look at different colleges and campuses, and really help them search for those colleges if that's what they're looking to do in the next steps after high school. So it's especially useful if you're working with students who may be first-generation college students who might not know exactly where to find the resources or how to find the resources. And also we thought it was useful as well in this time of, quarantine, staying at home, because these students may not have the easy access to the guidance counselors at the school that they normally would. So this is definitely a really great thing to use for breakdowns. Right now we're looking at Buffalo State SUNY school information, and so you can really go in here, share your screen, and get to know different schools and opportunities with your mentee. This site is called STEMworks. It's nice. It has a lot of different activities in different areas of STEM. You don't have to create an account to access it. So as you can see, you jump right into the page. There's a variety of different activities that you can do, sharing your screen with your mentee. There's lots of different subjects. It's not necessarily all math driven. It's going to be, you can go into building a galaxy, you can go into space together, looking into different things in the natural world. It's a very good resource if you have any interest in any aspects of STEM. Okay, and along those lines, again, we have a few different sites here that are going to offer science and nature kind of focused resources. The first one, Science Friday, this is really nice. It offers a lot of pre-made lesson plans through nonprofit. There's podcasts on this site as well if you're interested in looking into that. But what I found to be really helpful here is you can go and click through. It actually will download these lessons to your Google Drive. So the mentee doesn't necessarily have to have an account on Google. You don't really either, because anyone can access Google Drive banks essentially. So Andrew here is opening one up. You can see, and it gives just a lot of different lessons to do. There's remote learning assignments. So as we had mentioned, this one is a little bit more scholarly driven. So if you were looking to kind of have more of a curricular focus in your mentoring sessions, this would definitely be a useful resource to use. Okay. iNaturalist is a really cool site if you have any interest in naturalism or any kind of science in the natural world. You can go and look all over the world at different specimens. It shows really cool visuals of them and descriptions. So definitely a useful site to use if you have any interest in natural sciences. There also are some guides here that they have linked, which go into different continents, different countries, national parks. The whole site is just a really wealth of resources. So I recommend definitely taking a dive into it. And then the American Museum of Natural History also has virtual resources put up along with many museums across the country and the world. So they actually will offer classes that are kind of scheduled out. So you can see today there's a YouTube watch party at 1:30 that you could join in on. There are drawing competitions weekly. And you can also visit the museum virtually. You can take virtual tours of the different halls in the Museum of Natural History. So if you've been there, if you haven't been there, it's kind of neat to go in and look around. And they take these pictures, of course, when there isn't usually anyone visiting the museum. So it's an interesting viewpoint on something that many people might not be able to see usually. So along with all the other virtual tours that we kind of have touched on, as I mentioned, museums and cultural and tourist sites across the country have opened up their resources online to everybody for free, which is really nice. There are a wealth of links here that we've put on, and you'll be getting this presentation afterwards, so take your time to look through if any of them strike your interest. One of the ones we're going to look at right now is the NPR link, which has basically houses links to dozens and dozens of virtual concerts in a variety of genres. Some of them are scheduled, so some of them are at specific times and days that you can kind of live stream or jump on at that time. But this website is just a nice kind of clearinghouse for links for various musical concerts. NPR also does their own Tiny Desk version, if you're familiar with that. And they have been doing them at home at artist houses. So that's also a great resource to look into. But as you can see, there's dozens here. And then the other site we wanted to show you today is Google Mars. If you're not familiar with this, it's kind of like a Google Earth view of the surface of Mars. It's pretty neat, especially if you have mentees that have an interest in any kind of space expedition or travel. As you can see, you have so many different things that you can click on to learn more about Mars itself. We started on the infrared view and now we're in the visible view. So there's just lots of different ways that you can look at a different planet.
Oh, okay. It's like some of them aren't working, but yeah, there are stories. There's like mountain ranges and regions that you can look into.
And then we also thought it might be fun to do like a book club virtually. So, you know, you and your mentee could decide on a book that you would like to read together and you can discuss via video chat. There's a few different resources online to access books because, of course, you can't go to libraries at this point in time. So there's one that we linked up there that works with a library card. So if you both have library cards, it's across the country. You can just search the library and you're able to access the files. But if you don't have a library card or your mentee does not, there are a few different projects online where you're still able to access book files for free. So the first one we'll jump into here is Project Gutenberg. So much like the original printing press, it's making a lot of you know, literary classics available to the masses for free. So you can kind of take some time to look in here. The layout is much like this, and they have a variety of different books linked here. You know, there's quite a few classics or even just like scientific texts. So definitely take some time to see if there's any that you and your mentee may be interested in looking at together. Then we also have links here to the Internet Archive and Open Library, which again have a variety of different texts available for download, and Google Books does as well. So, you know, we tried to kind of compile a lot of different resources for this one, just in case the accessibility was an issue for anybody.
Yeah, some of them, just to add on to that, some of them do require an account to be created. But I think out of the ones that I found, Project Gutenberg is nice because you can just look at it from a link. So you can just send that link out and they do have tons of books, so it is worth looking around on this one. But then the other couple ones that we have on here are also like full of different books, and they're free to use. Just they do need an account to be created.
Mm.
So these activities, like I said before, they're just more oriented towards kind of conversation starters, just something fun to do. They're not really heavy on like educational aspects. Our kind of thought to this was they're already doing homework on their computer most of the day, so something fun to do with your mentee is always good to kind of distract them and just something different to do.
So the first two that we had kind of thought of, we thought for group mentoring situations especially, a game of charades would be fun that you could do over video chat. It might take some planning a little bit just to kind of get, the different things that you'd want to act out to each other. But, definitely if you have a group mentoring kind of meeting already set up, it might be fun to do over video chat. The next thing that we had thought of that you don't really necessarily have to use a website for is to play rounds of 20 questions. You could do so really just with items in each other's houses. Although in that regard, you would just want to really showcase the item. You wouldn't necessarily want to have a virtual house tour of either location. So just be mindful of that. But then we also were thinking, you could always make it more exciting by looking up either local landmarks or neighborhoods that you each semi-familiar with on Google Earth. You can screen share and kind of find one object in the picture to ask those 20 questions about. And then these two things, again, you don't necessarily need to use any kind of websites for, so they're pretty nice and self-explanatory, but we could, again, with the items having like a show and tell, so choosing an item with like a personal importance or meaning where you or your mentee could talk to each other about it via video chat. And then also finding like a simple recipe to cook or bake together. Of course, you'd kind of want to make sure that you had all the necessary ingredients, but you could even just try and learn like a simple kitchen skill, like trying to master an omelet or something like that.
And so here are a couple other programs. So Kahoot is, I know some people are probably familiar with it. It's kind of like an online quiz program. So let me log in. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can use this. It's definitely more group oriented, I would say, just because you can have up to 10 people with their free account. You can have up to 10 people playing these quizzes. So there are Kahoots that are already made that you can look into, or you can make your own quiz based on something. But they do have just tons that get added every day of different quizzes that sometimes they're based off of like a history lesson or a video. Endangered species animals. I'll just click on this one just to show you kind of what it looks like. So there's all these questions. They have about 20 seconds to answer them. And what you do is when you start it, it'll show like, go to this website and type in this code. So what they can do is they can either from their browser on their computer, or if they have a smartphone, they can go to that website and type in the specific code in order to get into the quiz. And then from that page, they're able to answer the questions as you go through. So it gives you, I think there's 4 options for each question that they can click on and submit their answer. And then it like keeps track of how many you got right and things like that. Yeah, and so the basic level is free to use. Up to 10 people are allowed to join in and answer the quiz questions. Down here is a little screenshot of creating the questions yourself. So like the triangle and the other symbols, those are each of the options for the answer. And then Taboo, this is a pretty old game, but they have a website version of it, which is really nice. All it does is it just comes up with a card. So the way the game works is partner is like the buzzword, and you want to try to get the other person to say the word, but you can't use any of the other words that are on the card. So you can use the game timer. It even allows you to like switch the card if it's a hard one. You can keep score on here, which is really nice. This is totally free to use. You don't have to log in. You just click the link. So this could be something, and you don't even have to screen share for this one because, well, you don't really want to screen share for this one. So this one works really nice if you're just doing like a face-to-face and want to play just a fun game to pass the time. And then I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the New York Times, what's going on in this picture. But every week they come out with a new picture, and they don't give you any context about what it's about. So it's kind of a fun guessing game that you can play. So this one is the current week's. So there is no description, but if you do want to go to prior weeks, you can click on they have the whole archive that you can go through. So this picture, no idea what it's about. I couldn't even guess. But if you scroll down to the bottom, the reveal. So this week's picture, employees at Wilkin & Sons Jam Factory in Tiptree, England, have cameras out for a tour by Queen Elizabeth II. Her visit came as the company celebrate their 125th year. So, I mean, you can just do this at the surface and like try to guess what it is, or you can even go in, figure out what it's actually about, and maybe have like a conversation about Queen Elizabeth II or the company that that she went to go visit. You can like search online, see what information you can find about it. It's a good way to kind of start a conversation about something random, keeping it light. All the pictures are usually pretty fun and quirky, like somebody's biking in front of the Pope in this What's Going On right here. So yeah, this one's a fun one that I thought everybody could use. And then Mad Libs, interestingly enough, Mad Libs doesn't have like an online version, but I did find these kind of off-brand sites. So there are two here, and just about the same thing. I do like this one more because it kind of comes up with descriptions of what each word is for you guys to go over before you go in. And then you can pick whatever story title you want to pick. I'll just click on a random one just to show you. Yeah, so you just type in what they're asking for, and then you hit see the results, and it plugs it into a story. And so you can put whatever silly word you want in and then read it over. This is a fun game. I know we suggest it even not during times of COVID. If you're on a train with your mentee going somewhere for a trip, it's always good to have Mad Libs in your back pocket just to pass the time and play a fun game together while you're waiting. So this is definitely a good one. All right, and now our last section. Like I said before, we decided not to go over every single virtual communication tool, every single face-to-face program, just because there are a ton of them. And at this point, we've kind of assumed that most of the communication tools have already been set in place for your program. So we did find a couple ones that you might not have heard of yet that we wanted to go over with you.
So the first one would be Whiteboard. It's a really neat tool you can use for collaborative learning. You can use it for school projects, and you really can even just use it to doodle. So if you are looking to kind of play like games of tic-tac-toe or something like that, or just kind of collaborate on a doodle together, it's a great resource. So as you can see, you basically open up a whiteboard and you can do doodles. There's ways to add clip art. You can even sort of, when you start the account, and this one would be one in which the mentor would have to create an account, but you can send the link to your mentee and they don't have to, they can access it without anything, just by inviting them. But you can add, as I was saying, clip art, you can add videos. There's a whole host of different additions here with Whiteboard. You can video share with it as well. So it's a nice kind of tool to use in that regard.
Yeah, there is a component on here with sharing your microphone. So if you do just use this, it has microphone sharing so you can talk to each other. You do need a Google account, like Alicia said, to share it with somebody, but when you share it, they don't need a Google account. And you can also, like when you first open it up, it asks you, we have it right here, you can just do a blank whiteboard, a template, or a file. And I did think the file thing was kind of cool. So if you have a PDF like worksheet that you want to use, you can upload that file and actually kind of work together and fill it out with either the markers, or you can actually put in text.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a tool that you can use to fill out worksheets and other things together at the same time.
Yeah, it's a good one. This is Flipgrid. It's a video kind of conversation app. And so essentially you would need to use an account to create one, but it is free for the mentor to do so. Then essentially once you get in, you create a grid of your own. So we've created this test grid here that Andrew has made. You can kind of use this in a variety of different ways. Essentially what it's supposed to be for is kind of like lessons. So a lot of educators will use this. Once you create the grid, you get a code that you're sending out to the students. So it is secure in that regard. You can't get into it without a password. And so you can kind of set a little prompt here. So this one we kind of used was about dinosaurs, asking, what you would do if you lived at the time of dinosaurs, and a little bit more about your favorite dinosaurs. And then you have your students log in here at any time. It doesn't have to be synchronous. They hit the little green plus to create a video response. And then that gets housed here in the grid. So you can go in and see, and any other students who have the grid code would be able to go and see. Once you do record a video, you're able to reply to the video with your own video. So it's a nice way to kind of just sort of keep in touch in a way that isn't, being online at the same time. It does take a little bit of time to set up, so I would definitely say it's something that you want to do with a little bit of preparation on the back end. But it is fairly self-explanatory once you get into it to sort of see how to use it and whatnot. There's also a preset library. So Flipgrid has kind of given educators different prompts to use. So you can kind of go through there. That's how we found the dinosaur one, and sort of see if any of them are going to be something that you want to go into. So for instance, this one is talking about pets, a few different questions in regards to that. So you can add this to your grid, so to speak, send out the code to your students or mentees, and they'll be able to respond. You can kind of communicate in that manner.
Then we do have a video on here, so when we do send it out, there's a quick YouTube video that kind of does a nice introduction of Flipgrid that you can click on.
Mm-hmm.
Then, so Jitsi.
I did have one. We do have one question I wanted to ask you. Someone wanted to know. I'm guessing about Flipgrid. It says, can you monitor what it is to put on in order to avoid anything inappropriate and things like that? I'm guessing for Flipgrid, but just also in general for any of these.
Yes. So there is a way to go in. So this account that I have set up right now, this is like the teacher account. So you do get the chance to go in and edit things. I know there's a way to there is a way to go in and delete the videos. This is not the way.
I think you can delete the topics. I don't know if you can necessarily delete the videos, but you can, as a facilitator of the account, you can view the videos that other people put in there before, you know, if you had more than one, student or mentee in the grid, you would be able to sort of view those videos that they put in prior to other students accessing them.
And then
if that answers.
Yeah, and also the add co-pilot feature, it allows more than one educator or kind of moderator to be on the account. So you and somebody else can go in and delete the different grids that you have. And then, so Jitsi is video conferencing. It is open source, but I'll just go onto the website really quick. So what it is it's very similar to Zoom, but I think it's a little bit easier to navigate. It's completely free, no account needed in order to make a Jitsi video chat. What you do is you come in here, you can type in whatever you want as the name of the meeting, and that becomes your URL. So it will just be like meet.jitsi.c/ and then whatever you chose to name it. And then when you create it, you're able to send out that link to other people. You can protect it with a password. It also allows for screen sharing, and you can watch a YouTube video together simultaneously, which not many other platforms have that capability. So I did think that was a nice highlight, where if there is a YouTube video, some kind of like song or something you want to watch with your mentee together, you are able to use that link on the video chat and watch it at the same time together. And there's no time limits. And yeah, all you need is that link. So unless you password protect it, so you can give them the link, give them the password so that they can get in, and that's it. They don't need to create an account. You don't need to create an account. All you need is that link and that optional password. And then we do have here another thing that has been brought up before, and during one of our coffee hours, we actually a program was talking about it. What they do is for mentors to be able to communicate with each other for that kind of extra support. Another mentor usually knows what other mentors are going through, so it's nice to be able to talk to each other, share ideas and things. So I found 3 programs where it's like it's a kind of group message program that you can use. So Flock and Slack are very similar. What they do is they're programs that you download, and they kind of look like this. So there's group chats, and then there's usually, or these are the group chats, and there's usually like individual chats that you can do. So Flock has a free version that you can use. So we'll look at so here's the free version of it. It's unlimited one-to-one and group messages. There is a team admin capability as well. So that does allow for moderation over the group messages. And then Slack is very similar. We actually use Slack, and that has all the same features. There is a free version of it as well. You can add in people, and so that all your mentees can talk together. You can use it to send out information to your mentees if you need to. And they both work very well. Yeah, see here the group messages that you can do. This one also has app capabilities. So there's some like different programs that you can like plug into this. That does get a little bit more complicated, but like at the surface, it's nice to have that group conversation where you all can share tips, even more activities that you find, and share them amongst each other. And then there's also GroupMe. GroupMe is a little bit different. One thing that's nice about it is if you don't have the ability to download the app on your phone or the app on your computer, they don't actually have a computer program, I don't think. But if you can't download the app on your phone, it works over text message. So you can receive the group messages through a text if you only have like a SMS phone that doesn't have app capabilities. So that kind of reaches more people. So this is also nice to keep people updated. I actually used to use this in various clubs at school and college. So I definitely liked how it worked. I was able to get information out to everybody. And then this one also does have that person-to-person capability. So you guys can use this to converse with fellow mentees, get information out from the top down, which is really nice.
And there is a web-based GroupMe. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I don't know why it didn't show up on there, but I do know there is one. I've used it before.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. All right. So those are all the virtual activities that we put together for you. Again, we really had in mind the ability to do it like mentor to mentee kind of interactive stuff. So there's a lot more activities in the same vein that you can look for. These were kind of just basic ideas, especially like the virtual tours. There's so many. You can even find local museums and exhibits that might be offering those virtual tours. And there's also live streams. We didn't really put any of those in because we were thinking that one might be a little bit more difficult to do if you're mentee to mentor interaction. But I definitely suggest like looking around for those. But yeah, we're going to open it up to any questions that anybody might have.
And I'll just add briefly before we there were a few questions that people put in the box that we did cover last week, and so I don't want to spend a ton of time rehashing that because it is recorded and we'll be able to help you access that. But I think one of the important things with any of this is that these are just tools. You still have to rely on your mentoring and mentor-mentee relationships in order to get them to like show up and care and want to participate. It's just in the same way that if you're doing a site-based mentoring program, you wouldn't just tell mentors and mentees to go sit at a table, stare at each other in their eyes, and have a conversation about their day, right? Because that would be incredibly awkward, and that would be, just something that's not what you wanted. Like, no one wants to do that. That's just an uncomfortable experience. And so, in the same way that if you are in a school setting or a community center setting, you might have them color or play basketball or play a board game or do the homework together or talk about books. You have some kind of activities to help them navigate that. We just want to make sure you can do that as well electronically, because I think sometimes we miss that when we encourage people to connect virtually. We just kind of assume that people can just like get on FaceTime and have a conversation for an hour, but that's not how it works. So I think when it comes to figure out how to motivate some of these, you have to rely on your your relationships that you've built with them, and make sure it's something that is interesting and relevant to them. Have conversations with them around, here's a bunch of activities we can try. What would you like to be able to do? Because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that this is something that is relevant and useful to them, and something they want to show up for. So if they're not showing up and if they're not engaging, then we need to figure out why that is and have that conversation with them about what can we offer you to make this appealing. And now you have a list of 15, 20 different activities that you can do with them, and starting to think about which of these is something that they might do and give them the choice to pick. And I think it's very real that a lot of young people right now, no matter what kind of activities you offer them, might not want to engage virtually, because if they're doing it for school, if they're doing it for other organizations they're a part of, it's connecting with family members, there's definitely a high level of burnout that I've heard from a few number of programs. And so I think you also have to recognize that, you know, sometimes they might just want to go low tech and just do voice, you know, or, you know, they might need a little bit of a break and we have to renegotiate some of those relationships and figuring out how we connect. So, you know, last week we did talk specifically about some platforms and best practices for just e-mentoring generally. And so if you do have some specific questions and you weren't able to make that one, I highly recommend go back and watch the recording. Next week, we're going to talk, I believe, about, you know, trauma and stress and how all of that intertwines with all of these different things, and how do we make sure we're, you know, not just doing activities and connecting, but making sure our mentoring is targeted at dealing with and addressing the trauma and stress young people are dealing with right now. So we'll be talking about that next week. After this, we will make sure that everyone gets in a follow-up email links to the recording for this one and the one from last week, as well as a number of other webinars. I'll also say you'll be able to get the PowerPoint slides, and we'll make sure there's links to all of these websites as well included in that email. So you'll be able to get all of that. If not today, then early next week, just because sometimes it takes time for the recording to process. So I want to make sure it's all uploaded before we send it to you. So that said, I'm going to give you guys maybe like 2 or 3 minutes to type in some questions. And then we'll start working through them. There's a handful popping up right now. And we will start wading through them. So I'll give you another minute or so to submit, just in case people are asking the same ones. I want to make sure we can kind of consolidate. You will also get certificates of completion at the end of this as well. So don't worry. We will be sending that out just so you have that. Assuming that you actually were on it. We're not going to send it to the people that weren't here. But all of you are. All right, so a few questions. One is some specifics about some of the programs. So with something like Kahoot, can you do that in real time? Can you play with your mentee in real time? And do you have any, is there like, you know, are there YouTube videos that are kind of like walkthroughs and things like that?
Yeah, there's definitely, I know Kahoot offers a lot of walkthrough on their site, but there's definitely YouTube videos that you can look up. But what you do is the way it works is it's over a web page. So people will type in, it did just show it. It'll say like go to this website, type in this code on the website, and you'll be ready to play. And if you see this right here, so it shows up like that on your smartphone or your computer. So you're able to answer the questions like that. The question will pop up with the 3 options, and this is like all real time. It'll show as soon as you like click start on your end, and then it'll show up on their smartphone or computer or whatever they're answering the questions on. So it'll give you however much time you've given the person to answer the question, and then they enter it. Timer is up, it shows the results, who got the question right, who got it wrong, and it keeps track throughout the entire quiz. And so you can supplement it with like a video. Maybe you want to watch something educational and ask questions after, or you can just play a fun like trivia game, maybe on a topic that everybody's interested in. So there's like a lot you can do with this, but yes, it is real time. As you go along, it will, as long as they have an internet connection, it will show on their phone as you're going through it.
Great, thank you. So yes, and I know people asked this. I thought I mentioned this a minute ago, but we will send the links out for all of these to all of you as well, with the descriptions of what each one is. So you will have all of that, and you'll have the full PowerPoint. So you have no problem accessing all of these. Let's see. Oh, someone pointed out that you can do groups in Kahoot as well. Their students do that a lot, which is really useful. Thank you for that. So would gaming with the mentee be a good idea? Fun for, I would say, doing things like this where it's a bit more structured, not just like, let's hop on, our PlayStations and like at each other as friends. That would probably be, that would be less than ideal, I would think. But, playing games with them is always a good idea. These are just some formats to do that are a bit more structured than just, things like that. Just like hopping on Xbox Live or something. Let's see. It's a good question. Is there any ways to maybe check on social emotional health without them having to share out loud in case they're uncomfortable? And what do you recommend for doing virtual parties if Zoom is prohibitive? Again, those are ones we talked a bit about more last week, so I don't want to go super in depth. I'll give you an overview, but you'll also get the link to be able to view that, so you can hopefully get answers to your questions, or just reach out to us directly if you watch that and this and still don't feel like your question got answered. But I would say generally, just being cognizant of that, and different platforms are so useful. So, like something like Jitsi is a really good alternative to Zoom. There's a number of other ones that we talked about last week that you can also check out that I know are really great as well. And, I think, I don't know of any, it's a good question if there are like games checking on like social emotional health. I don't know of any specifically that are targeted towards that, but a lot of gamers, if they're playing on their phone or their computer, might have text chat option instead of a voice chat option. So it's a good way to, like, while you're playing a game, again, kind of distracting them is a really good time to, have those conversations in a text chat versus, in a voice chat. So that way, if their family's around and they're close quarters, a lot of young people have to share small apartments with large families. They can, share that and be part of that. So I would say that's what I would say, in the same way that, my background's in social work. And so, I was working as a school social worker and working with young people, especially. One of the things we would do a lot was have kids, color, have the kids do things with their hands. And then, all of a sudden everything just starts coming out of their mouths because they're distracted. So using the games to do that. So I would say that. And then here's a question for you guys. Is there any resources that you found for making videos to send out to mentees? So not video chats, but making recorded videos to be able to send out. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind would just be using something like YouTube and making a private channel. You can make things that are private, that you need are password protected, things like that, that you could record and send out. I would think something like that would be pretty useful, but I don't know if you guys have found anything else that would be good for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please
Sorry.
go ahead.
You can actually use Flipgrid for that purpose as well. So on the slide that we have kind of the information about Flipgrid, we've also linked a nice YouTube tutorial that kind of gives you even more in-depth way to walk through it. But if that's something that you are interested in, you can create your own grid without any kind of their pre-made prompts, and you can just record a video. Here's an exciting video of me, but you can record a video. It gives you a time limit. I think the most is maybe like 5 minutes, I believe is the most, but don't quote me on that. I think that's the longest I've ever used it for. But you can really just, record a video and send it out to them. Again, Flipgrid's nice because it does allow that private channel to be only through you and the mentee. So, you can record it using Flipgrid and then send them the link and the code to get into it. They would be the only ones who would be able to access it. And then, they can watch it anytime they have the free time to do so. It won't like time out or disappear or anything like that. So that's definitely something I would say might work for that specific occasion. And again, that video that we have on the PowerPoint that you'll all get is definitely a more in-depth kind of walkthrough of how exactly to go through that process.
And
Awesome.
I actually, just to, the question earlier about Flipgrid, about moderating like individual answers, I did just figure it out. So when you're on your educator page, you click My Activity, it has the dashboard achievements, and then recent videos. So this will be all the videos that whoever you give access to will be uploading. So you can go in, click Action, and delete response. So you can actually delete individual responses. Just because somebody did ask that and I couldn't figure it out at the time.
Yeah, and that's great. So we'll send all this out. So you'll get an email, like I said, with the PowerPoint recording for last week, registration for next week, and links to all of these websites. So you'll have all of that, as soon as possible. This is obviously not an exhaustive list. The internet is a massive place. There are countless activities and things to do on the internet that we couldn't possibly touch on them all. But here's a really good starting place for some really good, and I think structured and safe and age appropriate activities to be able to do. Obviously, if you're able to find other ones, please share them with each other if you know of other things, or let us know, and we'll try to include those in an email. We also have information on our website at mentornewyork.org. If you go up top, it says resources, and there's a COVID-19 resource guide with lots of other things, including different activities and things like that on our website. And so I'd encourage you to check that as well. And just going to show you what it looks like. But at top, once it loads, where it says resources, there you go. There should be a drop-down menu. Yeah, there you go, COVID-19 resources and tips. So anyway, yeah, we'll be able to send that out as well. If you do have any other further questions, feel free to email us and let us know. I'm going to put, I can put my email in the chat. Oh yeah, here we go. I'll put it here. So feel free to reach out to myself if you have anything or other questions that you want to have answered. And the last thing, if you want to go to that last slide, Andrew, if you have just a few minutes, if you pull out your phone now and open up your camera and point at this QR code, it'll give us an opportunity to just, you'll get a little thing at the top that'll take you to a SurveyMonkey link, just to give us some feedback on how this went and anything like that. And then if you do have any other questions that didn't get addressed that you want to put in the question box, we'll stick around for a little bit more just to answer any questions as well. But otherwise, I appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
If for some reason the survey is not working, don't worry, it'll be in the follow-up email as well. Or if you're on your phone and can't really take a phone picture of your phone screen, don't worry, it'll also be in there. All right, looks like that was just about all the questions. Like I said, feel free to please email me if you do have anything else. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you all again next week at the same time. We'll be talking about trauma and stress and grief and how we can use mentoring to help address those issues during, especially in this time. Again, if you can't access the survey, it's totally fine. We'll send it an email. Don't worry. I promise I want your answers, so we'll make it easy to get to. Well, everyone, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And again, thank you for your time, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.